Small vessel sea service form. This form is the one that you use to document your time on the water. You need 360 days on the water to qualify for OUPV or Masters Inland. To qualify for OUPV or to qualify for a Masters near coastal, you need 720 days on the water, 360 of those outside the demarcation line. So, and again, there's more of that. If you go to our website, uscaptain.us, under resources, all of that stuff is there. Let's look at this form. So, name, last, first, middle, social security number, vessel name, official number or state registration number. This is where most people run into the biggest problem, because you can use time from the time you're 15 until the present for this lifetime time. 90 of those days must be in the past 3 years. 360 total. You can go from the time you're 15 until the present. 90 of those days in the last 3 years. So this is where people run into problems with these. They say, I have a ton of time, but it's on this boat and I don't know how to get the numbers. Well, that can be a problem. So what I'm saying to you is, you need the official number or state registration number for this form to work for the Coast Guard. Now, vessel gross tons. Some people know it, some people don't. People have ways of getting it. Sometimes they call the boat manufacturers, or they use a simplified measurement form. But what you can do is, what I did was, I didn't fill that out, and I just put length, width, and depth of the boat. The depth means from pretty much the keel of the boat until the lowest deck. No, they word it like this: the uppermost deck that has the means of being made watertight. So length, width, depth, and they can get gross tonnage. Propulsion: motor, steam, gas turbine, sail, auxiliary. So if it's a motor vessel, any vessel being propelled by machinery, you put motor, right? If it's a sailboat, you put sail. Because they're called sailboats because their main form of propulsion are the sails. They have an auxiliary engine, right? So you're either going to put motor or sail, auxiliary sail. Served as master, mate, operator, deckhand. Most of you going through this course do not have a license, so you are either the operator or a deckhand, right? You can get into trouble. Let's say you were the first mate on a boat that you worked on. Well, sometimes they say that's a licensed position, so you can run into trouble if you're trying to tell them that you got your time in a licensed position, such as mate on certain vessels, when you didn't have a license. So operator or deckhand is basically what you're going to be putting on. If you had your own boat, you were the operator, owner-operator. Name a body or bodies of water upon which the vessel was underway. Geographic location. People mess up here too. What they want is, were you on the Great Lakes, Western rivers, inland waters, or near coastal waters? Near coastal waters, meaning, were you outside the demarcation line, or were you seaward of the demarcation line, or were you shoreward of that demarcation line? If you were shoreward of that demarcation line, you were on inland waters. If you were seaward of that demarcation line, you are on near coastal waters. And if you're wondering where that line is, consult the charts that you use when you're out there, right? You probably have a paper chart, and if you operate on oceans or the Gulf or something like that, check your chart and there'll be a demarcation line, and see if you were outside, seaward of that demarcation line or shoreward. And that tells you whether it's inland or near coastal time. So here, you don't want to put like Bass Lake, that's not going to work. You want to put inland waters. Or if you're on the Great Lakes, you don't want to put Lake Michigan, Lake Huron. You want to put Great Lakes. Good. And now here, this is record of underway sea service. So we have the month, year, and days, right? So January. This form, one form per vessel. So all the years that you were on that boat are all recorded on one form. So let's say, I'm here in Michigan, so we don't get on the water January, February, March. We'll start late April into May. So I know that's not the case for everybody, but it's just my experience. So May, and then the year. Say it's 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, and then the days in that month, right? So May 2005, I was on the water 10 days on this vessel. And then you go through the whole thing like that, right? So the years go here. So it's the month, the year of that month, and then the days that year in that month you're on the water, right? And one of these should work for each one. And if you have a lot of time on one boat, you might have to attach something to this form. If these years, let's say you had the boat for 10 years, right? And you want to claim your time on it, well, this you might have to attach another sheet with more time. Now these boxes are kind of confusing, right? So when you add up your days from this part, you need to transfer those days down to here. Total number of days served on this vessel. All your days that you recorded up here go in this box. Average hours underway per day. Do not put anything less than 4, or these will be rejected. At least 4 hours is 1 day underway. And you cannot claim multiple days in a 24-hour period. So if you're on the water for 24 hours straight, you get 1 day. I think there may be some exceptions for long passages where you can get a day and a half, but I'm not too familiar with that, and it's not frequent that I see these things. So your total number of days here, average hours underway, at least 4, right? 4, 5, 6, one of these numbers. Average distance offshore. How far are you offshore on average? I work on a parasail boat. I'm about 1.5 miles offshore. Not very far. Number of days served on the Great Lakes. If your days from these boxes were served on the Great Lakes, then that's where they go, right? Here's your total number of days served on this vessel. So here's your total days. If some of those days were on the Great Lakes, those days go here. Number of days served on water shoreward of the boundary line, right? This is the demarcation line that we were talking about earlier. It divides the high seas from harbors, rivers, and bays. Number of days served on water shoreward. If you were inside that line, how many days were you inside that line? That goes here. Number of days served on waters seaward of the boundary line. If you were seaward of that line, those days go here. So the days that are in these 3 boxes need to add up to the total number of days. And most of the time, I find some people travel more than others, but a lot of people spend all their time like on Lake Michigan or Lake Huron or in the Gulf of Mexico or just off the East Coast or the West Coast, right? So they spend most of their time in the same waters. So a lot of times, like almost all my time is on the Great Lakes. So my total number goes here. Time spent on the Great Lakes would be all of them, and it goes here. Okay, I don't know how much more I can clarify that. Your days go here, the year, the days in that month. Add up all your days from here. It goes towards the total. And then number of days served on the Great Lakes of that total goes here. Number of days served on waters shoreward of the boundary line of the total goes here. Number of days served on waters seaward of the boundary line of the total go here. Make sure these boxes, if you have days in each of them, they need to add up to the total. Good. Signature and verification. Sign here, date here. Owner, operator, or master. Read before signing. This is someone that's attesting to your time. Somebody that owned the vessel that you have time on, or your boss, if you worked on a vessel, that's where they sign. Let me read this here. Owner, operator, or master, read before signing. I certify that the above individual has served on the above vessel as stated. I am making this statement in order that the applicant may obtain a license to operate a vessel under the provisions of Title 46 CFR as applicable. I understand that if I make any false or fraudulent statement in this certification of service, I may be subject to a fine or imprisonment up to 5 years, or both. Some serious stuff. So, you sign here and date here. Somebody that can attest to your service signs here and dates here. Owner, operator, or masters, their last, first, middle name. And then their address and phone number, their reference. And then the second page of this is super easy because you don't do anything. That's a small vessel sea service form. So, the confusing parts, let's go over that again. Official number or state registration number. You need this. However you have to get it. Old photographs or insurance records. The state, you may be able to go through the state. I've had some people successful going that route. A lot of them found old pictures or insurance records. You need that official number, state registration number. All your days on that vessel go here. The total goes here, and then Great Lakes, shoreward, seaward of the boundary line. That's about it. Small vessel sea service form. One more note. This, you see these forms? Expires 06/30/2012. Well, that has come and gone. Yeah, that's an alarm on my phone. That has come and gone. But the Coast Guard does not have forms to replace these yet. So these forms are still valid. Good. Good luck on this. 360 days of service will get you a master's up to 100 gross tons.